All right, welcome to Rapid Fire Manufacturing. Today we have Vivek Saxena, and he is the CEO of Factory Twin. It's a platform that helps small and medium-sized manufacturers to make better decisions faster. From working with aerospace giants to helping smaller shops grow, Vivek's got some incredible stories about how data can really transform manufacturing. So, Vivek, thank you so much for joining. I look forward to hearing some insights from you.
Good morning, Dave. Glad to be here, and thanks for inviting me. I've been watching some of your podcasts recently, particularly the one with Mike Payne and also Jim Meyer. Seems like a very interesting platform you have here going.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate you watching. Are you ready to dive into some questions here?
Absolutely.
So, for smaller shops that are still on the fence about, embracing data analytics, what can industry leaders do to help them break down some of those barriers and maybe speed up some meaningful change?
Okay, that's a great question, and I would say let's start thinking first about where are we today in terms of adoption of these technologies, right? So on one hand, there's a lot of buzz about AI in manufacturing, digital twins, factory analytics. On the other hand, there are not many cases of small and medium-sized companies showing successful benefits from it. I would posit that our customers are a little different than that, but still, in general, that is the situation. So where are we today? The adoption rate is not quite what it should be or what the industry needs or what I would like to see, but it is getting there. It's slow, but it's getting there. So as an example, we did a survey with Aviation Week, Q4 of last year, looking into small and medium-sized manufacturers in aerospace and asking them what smart manufacturing technologies you're going to invest in the next 12 months. So the answer was 70% of them, overwhelmingly, they said that factory data analytics is where they are actually investing or plan to invest in the 12 months. And the reason is very simple, and that's, compared to 3D printing or robotics and other things, the reason is very simple. Number one, there are no capex involved in factory analytics, right? Don't have to buy big equipment and train a whole bunch of people right up front. So it's a lower barrier to entry, like most software applications do. And also, it is the data they already have, and they don't do much with it, right? So as a factory, I'm generating terabytes of data, but I'm not doing anything with it. And somebody comes along and says, hey, if you start using it in a certain manner, you get double-digit improvements in your factory metrics. So there's a benefit to that. It's a very clear case to that as well. So we found that there was increased adoption, at least an intent was there. And I was just talking to Wisconsin Manufacturing Extension Program president, and he mentioned the same thing, that they do annual surveys. And this year's surveys in 2024 shows that the reluctance or resistance to adopt factory analytics type technologies actually went down from last year from 55 or 59% down to mid 30s. So that's a pretty significant drop. So you can see awareness and adoption is getting there, but it's still not what, people who care for manufacturing would like to see. And then there are reasons for it. So let's talk about what those reasons are. There are hard reasons and there are soft reasons. Hard reasons are things like internal talent, having data in multiple sources, multiple formats. It's not very easy to get it done internally. You have to get somebody from outside, and that always is a problem in manufacturing environment, right? So that's kind of like a hard reason. Soft reason is culture change and training. So if you just think in terms of, if I'm the user of a new software platform given to me, I want it to be easy to use like my cell phone or any app that I'm using as a consumer. Why should a B2B application be any different and more difficult to use and not as user-friendly? So that's where I think one of the things that we should focus on to improve the barriers. And these are mostly soft issues: training, culture change, managing culture change. People are used to doing things offline, in spreadsheets, and then for everything, working towards any meeting requires offline work, mundane, repetitive work. So you can eliminate all that stuff. So it's going to take the vendors and providers of solutions have to think in those terms. How do I push the boundaries in the mental models of how people do their work? How can we eliminate their pain points? How can we make it more user-friendly? So when we started, we did a survey of 75 factories just before we started building the digital twin platform, which we call Factory Twin today. And we talked to people about not just what you don't have, what your pain points are, but how would you like to see, how would you like to interact with this data? because that's, you want minimum kicks, that's pretty no-brainer to get to a solution. But things should be intuitive. So then when I'm working it, it's how I think. If I'm doing sales and operations planning, I don't have to go and look at multiple pages and have this very cluttered application. It should be how I do my work. Demand planning, resource utilization, supply chain risk mitigation, all those things, exactly how the process flows that people are familiar with. Similarly with digital continuous improvement. Continuous improvement requires you to build, value stream mapping, identify Kaizen events. All that is actually prep work. The real work starts when you identify the Kaizen events and implement that. Can you make that easy, right? So you can eliminate all that offline work and getting ready for stuff. So I think that's what I would say we as software and solutions providers should do, is to understand that it is the soft issues that are bigger barriers than hard issues, and focus on that 90% of the time. Because once you have a product, you have taken care of most of the hard issues.
Yeah, so it's that user interface, right? If you can reduce the friction there, and I guess if they can burn less mental calories trying to figure out how to use it, it's going to be more implemented or heavily implemented, right?
I mean, think about user guides. So when you look at a B2B application, there would be a huge user guide. The ERP is the worst example, right? You implement it and you get a thick book with it. And then how many people go? You need expertise. Somebody becomes an ERP expert in a shop. You don't want that, right? You want something as simple as, the next level of user guide could be, it may be embedded in the application, right? When every chart that you're looking at, it has got its user guide in it. A third level of user application could be that not only is the user guide embedded, it also tells you how that visual was generated, what was the background data, so you can keep building the confidence in that, so you're not constantly questioning whether what you're seeing is correct or validated. So you got to get to that level where people get so comfortable as you are in doing day-to-day consumer apps on your iPhone.
Yeah, I can see that being a lot more adoptable, right? As soon as you make it that easy to use.
Exactly, yeah. So
and then,
we're focusing there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that kind of blends into the next question, which is, you talked about, somewhere I read about the predictive and prescriptive analytics to simplify complex challenges. Can you describe a story of how Factory Twin has made a difference for a client, especially in terms of boosting, satisfaction and productivity?
Sure. So Factory Twin, if you just look at the heart of what it is, it's a digital twin of your factory that learns from the past and present and predicts the future. So you can do things like, so now you're in October, you're making plan for Q4 deliveries right in your shop.
Mm-hmm.
Some of your shop personnel go for hunting trips around Thanksgiving and they're going to be gone for 3 days to 5 days during that period, right? You also know you are invariably, if you have sufficient demand, you're going to be running some overtime, right? And you don't know when. So usually you deal with these challenges as you go there, and the employee says, I'm going on a hunting trip and I won't be gone back for 5 days. Or your supervisor says, I'm going to need some overtime hours in the month of November and December, holiday months, to be able to make up for the work, for the hours that I need to do that. Well, you don't have to wait to the last minute and react to the situation. Digital twin is going to predict. You can have a simulation of your factory 2 months from now. What is going to happen in November or in December? And you can incorporate scenarios where you have certain people going on hunting trips. Some people have to work on overtime. So that way you can do better planning with your employees. And that makes a big difference, right? Instead of having to react to things or telling your employee you can't take a time off, you can avoid those kind of situations. Similarly, similar to the shop floor employees, there's also a lot of energy wasted in the shop support functions. So think about, there's studies out there where it's reported that in a manufacturing shop, 2% of all energy is spent on just reporting. So somebody calls and says, where's my part? Or when is this part going to be delivered? And some people go and try to find out where it is in the systems or, ERP or Excel sheets, wherever it may be sitting. But most of the time it's a phone call that comes and you have to find out what's going on. So 2% of the energy of the support function is just in reporting stuff. Then if you dig deeper, we have estimated 10% plus of the energy in just getting ready for meetings. So you do production meeting, how do most people do it? They will print out an Excel sheet with the part situation. And by the way, by the time you print it out, it's already obsolete because parts are moving, parts are arriving, parts are being shipped, right? And then you do a production meeting and then it's already obsolete, but then people have to go through the Excel sheet line item by line item, figuring out who you run by exception or whatever. It takes time to get ready for it. You're doing an inventory meeting twice a month. You have to get ready for how much inventory do I have, how much aging do I have, how do I predict my inventory exposure into the future, what is the plan for every part into the future. You're getting ready for sales and operations planning meeting. So anyway, 2% of the time in reporting, 10% plus time in getting ready for meetings, and then certain functions can even require, depending upon the systems you have, even more time in just figuring out what to do. Small shops don't have continuous improvement departments, right? So one of the reasons people have not rigorously implemented lean in small and medium-sized shops, even though we have been at it for 50 years, is because, let's say as an example, the starting point is value stream mapping. How do you do value stream mapping? Sit around a table with experts and put yellow stickies on the wall. It takes a couple of hours every week or every 2 weeks, and then a month or two later you have a as-is value stream map. Well, they shouldn't be spending time in developing as-is value stream map. That data resides in your ERP system, and you should have a push-button value stream as-is map. What you should be spending time on identifying Kaizen and implementing Kaizen. So again, a whole percent of time is spent in getting ready for meetings, and you can eliminate all of that. So we remember we have a customer in Michigan, and they used to spend a lot of time getting ready for S&OP meetings, sales and operation planning meetings. And the best compliment I received from any customer is when their CEO told us that the tone of their executive meetings has changed since they started using Factory Twin, because people are becoming more proactive. They're on the same page. People are not questioning each other's data, each other's Excel sheets, each other's PowerPoint. It's all in one place, and it's a complete future planning for their shop going out 2 years. So that really improves the quality of your work, quality of your life. Being proactive is always better than being reactive.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I was going to say. Switching that from reactive to proactive is such a huge difference, right? And I'm imagining in terms of stress too on the organization, less stressful environment when people are proactive in situations like that.
Yeah, I think that we see as our biggest win when we go to a customer and we see smiles on people's faces sitting around a table when we do our first training. Oh, you can do that. Oh, wow. This is going to eliminate 2 hours of my work every week or 3 hours of work every 2 weeks, whatever, right? That's what gives us most satisfaction, looking around the table and seeing the, oh, wow, this is cool. So, and then you get testimonials 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the road after you have implemented, and that kind of validates and reinforces the purpose of where we are spending our lives developing tools for manufacturers.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome. And we are out of time. So Vivek, I really appreciate you joining. And as always, it's a pleasure to learn from industry experts such as yourself. For those of you tuned in, stay tuned for more leaders who are helping shape the future of manufacturing. And until next time, keep innovating and pushing the limits. Vivek, thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me.